People of the Purple Butterfly here, people of 7 on Blue Sky and YouTube, people of elsewhere on the internet. My soaps located Purple Butterfly soaps.myshopify.com, my blog, Purple Butterfly people.blogspot.com. And today I woke up to a sink that had a puddle of water, which makes it kind of hard to, wash dishes, make coffee, make soap. And upon inspection, because they just fixed that sink last week, the faucet was like really, really loose. So they came by to tighten that up. And I made some dishwater, made some coffee, looked down because I see my footprints. When you have shoes like this, it makes a very specific pattern on the floor if there's water on the floor. So I'm going, where's this water coming from? So I got a couple of towels and stuck it under the sink. I hadn't put all the stuff that was under the sink back yet because they had literally just fixed the sink last week. And come to find out, there's a separation about this big between the main base of the sink and the pipe that, the water exits out of. In the meantime, that means I can't make soap because I work with lye, and yeah, you don't want caustic chemicals free flowing under a sink and getting all over the floor or whatever. Even though the way I do it is very safe and there's not much chance of lye going down that drain, the fact is it's a drain. So the drain has to go where the pipes exit. We can't have it flying in between stuff. So, yeah, soap making for today is off. But I also got a couple of requests of when is this soap done curing? Um, it's been 3 weeks. Is that soap finished? So it occurred to me maybe people don't know what the curing process is actually for. When you make a soap, the first 24 hours, well, 18 to 48 hours, is the saponification process where the lye eats the oil, makes a byproduct called soap. After that, it goes through a curing process. That allows the soap to dry out because it's in a liquid state when it starts. It, when all that liquid evaporates, the soap forms what's known as a soap molecule. Okay, I took the liberty of drawing a diagram. A soap molecule has a head and a tail. Okay, looks like that. Actually, there's like on the top and the bottom of all those little zigzags, there are carbon molecules, and then there's the sodium molecules, so forth and so on. I'm not going to get a technical lesson going on. What you need to know is this part here, where is a zigzag, is attracted to fat, and this part here where the head is attracted to water. That's how it works. The part that's attracted to fat is called hydrophobic and lipophilic tail. It basically attracts all the dirt and oils that when you add it to water is on your hands. In other words, it's attracted to the dirt. The head is hydrophilic and lipophobic, which means it's avoiding the water. So when you put the two together and you wash your hands, it's taking all the dirt out and leaving the moisture. In other words, you have a moisturizing soap. But if you don't allow it time to cure, you're just going to have something that itches, is harsh, or is not effective. Soap needs that curing time. All my soaps have a minimum of 3 weeks curing time. There are some soaps like 100% olive oil, otherwise known as Castile, that takes an entire year to cure. I won't make a 100% olive oil soap for that reason. I don't want to wait a year. So I use a Bastille soap, which is olive oil and other oils that will allow it to cure within a certain amount of time, but not a whole year. One of the longest cure times for any soap I've ever made was 8 weeks. And there was reasons for that 8 weeks. The ingredients, the attributes I was going for. It was a full water soap. It needed that time to dry out and develop the soap molecules. So, since my soaps are generally 3 weeks minimum, 4 weeks average, I gave it double the amount of time, 8 weeks, and it was fine. But I'm not going to wait a whole year for a single soap. That's just not me. If you want to do it, you're a new soap maker, and like every soap maker is told when they first start, do a Castile soap. You you gotta do a Castile soap. Yeah, you do a Castile soap if you want to and wait a year. Because if you don't wait till the soap molecules develop in the Castile soap, it will feel slimy when you go to wash your hands with it. You'll doubt if it's finished the process or this isn't effective, this is feeling slimy. A slimy olive oil soap is a soap that is not completely 100% cured. Basically, you put it on your cure rack and you leave it for a year, put something over so it doesn't get dust, and come back to it a year later, and now you have bubbles and you have moisturizing qualities, so forth. So, and that's all well and good if you want to, I'm a soap maker. I'm going to make a Castile soap, so forth and so on, because now I'm a true soap maker. Yeah, once you learn the saponification process and the cure process and understand what a soap molecule is and can repeat it continuously every time you make a soap, you are a true soap maker. If you're going for the novelty of, it's a Castile soap, I'm going to make a Castile soap, go for it. But if you have to wash up on a daily basis and you want to be clean, so forth, so you're going to have to make another soap in between that while you're waiting on that Castile soap to develop the soap molecules and become, a viable soap. So that's when the Bastille recipes come in. That's when I basically make my own recipes because there are certain ingredients that are standard in soap making, like shea butter. I'm allergic to shea. I won't use shea. I won't say, okay, I'm not going to make a shea soap for me, but I'll make one for you because just touching it, I could still have an allergic reaction, end up in the hospital, and that's 9 days of my life I will not get back. If you just absolutely positively have to have a shea butter base or a shea butter soap, I have friends that make soap. I will refer you to them. But in place of shea, I use mango butter. Mango butter is made from mango seeds or the mango kernel. It has all the attributes of shea without the attribute of being a tree nut because it's not a tree nut, it's a seed. And safe for me, it has almost all the same attributes, the same emollients, the same moisturizing qualities, but it won't send me to the hospital. That's like I have one friend that's allergic to olive oil. I have a special mold that I make her soaps in so that way there's no trace of olive has ever touched it. And I have a mold I use specifically because it's never had coconut oil in it because I also have a friend that's allergic to coconut oil. That was one of the reasons I became a soap maker is so I could avoid ingredients that send me to the hospital because I'm allergic to a lot of stuff. Well, by the same token, while I'm avoiding what I'm allergic to, another friend was like, "Hey, you use olive oil, don't you?" I was like, "I don't have to." "Oh, can you make me a soap?" So I made her a soap without olive oil. I have made friends soaps without palm oil because, well, palm oil has issues and there's a sustainability issues and blah blah blah, and they're going by all the hype. Palm oil, when it's sustainable and is gathered from the proper source, no problem with that. The issue is when people are using palm oil in a non sustainable fashion, they're just grabbing the palm kernels and not replacing the palm kernels. Yeah, that might be an issue. But I always use a sustainable source on the few times I use palm oil. People that are allergic to coconut oil, I will use something different instead of coconut oil. I have friends that are vegan, so they don't want a lard base. But by the same token, I have people that say, "Oh, can you make me a 100% lard soap?" Sure. That's the beauty of being your own soap maker. When you take out your soap calculator, you write down the oils you want to use, calculate the saponification value so that way you know how much lye. You make your own recipes. So, yeah. But in the meantime, after you make that recipe, you give it 18 to 24 hours depending on what it is. If it's a coconut based soap or a lard based soap, I'm cutting it in 18 hours because otherwise I'm not going to be able to get that soap through the soap cutter. It gets hard really, really quickly, especially coconut. Coconut, you don't even need 18 hours. At the 6 hour mark, you might be able to cut it. And if you wait longer than that, you're going to have to use the miter blade and a stainless steel miter box because nothing else is going to get through it at that point. But just because it sets up quickly doesn't mean it's developed the soap molecules at that time. That's the saponification cure. That's when it hardens up enough to cut. The soap molecules come during the curing process, which is another 3 to 8 weeks. I generally allow 3 to 6 weeks, and that's all for cold process. Hot process, however, when you make a hot process soap and you're cooking it to the point of saponification, and then you're making sure that the lye is completely cooked out, is soap at that moment. However, even with my hot process soaps, I'm still going to give it 2 weeks to develop those soap molecules. It will lather, it will clean the moment it hardens up from, you scoop it out of the crock pot, put it in a mold, cut it, is soap. But it still needs that 2 weeks to develop to be a good soap. It will still lather and everything, but those attributes that you really want, the moisturizing quality, the texture, the cleansing properties, yeah, allow 2 weeks for that too. If you're using C-pop method, 2 weeks. If you're using melt and pour, which is a soap that has already been completed, cured, and all that, but you're melting it, adding ingredients to it, fragrance oil, your own moisturizing properties such as mango butter or whatever. The moment it, hardens back up, because it is a glycerin based soap, Melt and Pour has 50% glycerin compared to all the other ingredients. Or at least my recipe does when I make my own Melt and Pour. That still, to me, needs a cure time, at least a week. But I'm going to treat it like a hot process because it started as a hot process and give it 2 weeks. It still needs time to develop those soap molecules. When you make a melt and pour, when you make a hot process, when you make a C-pop, yes, it saponifies faster and it will become a hard bar right now. But the moment you alter the DNA, in other words, I added oils, I added this, I added that, you still altered how long that curing process for the soap molecules is. So still give it time. That brings me to liquid soaps. When you make a liquid soap, that's a hot process soap. There is a method to make a CP liquid soap. I've done that as well. And you make your soap paste. Then you dilute your soap paste. Maybe add a little citric acid to neutralize any free lye that was in the process. That's a whole nother subject. But now you have a neutral soap that you added 1-to-1 ratio, 1-to-2 ratio, even 1-to-3 ratio, depending on what kind of liquid soap you made. You're diluting it to make it a liquid because when you make it, it's a soap paste that you have to add water to and your fragrance oil to, maybe some extra oils as a moisturizing. When you make liquid soap, you're using a 3% super fat, which means it's going to be harsh. You have to add extra oils along with the fragrance oils, along with water and glycerin. I always add glycerin to my liquid soaps. And then I sequester it. That means when you make a soap paste, you're still going to put it away until it's time for it to become a liquid soap, which means you're giving it a cure time, otherwise known as sequestering it. When you dilute it and make the liquid soap, even when you pour it in the bottles or whatever, you're going to put that aside in a cool, dark place for at least a week and a half. That's your cure time. That's developing the soap molecules. They call it sequestering, but basically, it's a cure. So, yeah, this is the diagram. It's a really rough diagram. You could Google soap molecules you could put it on Google or Gemini or Alexis or whatever the new technology. Every time I say Google, something called Gemini pops up now. So apparently they've changed Google, but it still has the same information. Yahoo, Google, Gemini, basically any search engine. If you type in soap molecules, you're going to see something like this. You'll see a better version of this diagram I drew, but it will explain what a soap molecule is. Soap molecules are very unique. It's like I put oils and distilled water and a catalyst together and I get soap. And then I let it cure and it develops from that cure into what we call soap. But there's a very specific molecule that develops from that cure time. So, yeah, when I put on my videos and my pictures of my soaps, cure date so and so and so, and I have people go, well, I'm gonna order now, and I say, no, it's not even listed now. There's a reason for that. I'm developing those soap molecules. If I sell you a soap that is not fully cured, first of all, it's not going to last very long. I mean, literally, it'll just wash away. And secondly, if it's not ready, Somebody say, well, that soap didn't lather much. Suds and lather has nothing to do with the cleaning properties. It's a perk. But the cleansing properties are from developed soap molecules in the cure type. So if I sell you a soap that's not fully cured, you're going to have complaints about it. You're going to say, well, that soap was drying. That soap was this. That soap was that. That soap wasn't fully cured. Consciously, ethically, I would not sell a soap that is not fully cured. So, yeah, that's why I put the cure date on my website, on the individual soaps. The listing says the date it was made and then the cure date. The cure date and the date it was made are always two different dates. It might be made on January 1st, but it won't be cured until February 15th. You see what I'm saying? So when I tell somebody, oh, the cure date is so and so, and then they ask about that soap, and I'll tell them, well, it's almost finished curing. The cure date is so and so. That's why. It's because I want it to finish developing the soap molecules so that way it could be the best product possible for my friends, my family, my customers, and the people that are interested in my soaps. I've rambled on enough. The maintenance guy is walking down the hall. I can hear him dragging equipment. So they're finna fix that sink, hopefully. Either that, I'm next in line, but it was put in as an emergency. So this has been People7 on Twitter, nope, on Blue Sky and YouTube, People elsewhere on the internet. My soaps located at Purple Butterfly dash soaps.myshopify.com. My blog, Purple Butterfly dash people.blogspot.com. Y'all stay blessed, stay tuned. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye now.